Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time. This is Kim Greenhouse. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Rose Dedan. She is the author of a new book called Tales of a Healer, Animals, Reiki, and Shamanism. Now, I found out about Rose Dedan when I did an interview with the Earthfire Institute, which is doing remarkable work with animals. And I really had an interest in Reiki, shamanism, animal communication. And Rose Dedan is a Reiki master, an animal healer, and communicator, and has tremendous experience doing healing work with animals and helping people in their relationship with animals. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the author of Tales of a Healer, Rose Dedan, to It's Rainmaking Time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. First of all, I want to have the public have an explanation, an introduction. What is Reiki?
Reiki is a non-invasive form of energy healing that balances the body mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And its origin is Japan from the late 1800s, and it's credited to a gentleman named Dr. Makayo Yasui.
Many years ago, I met some people who told me they were Reiki masters, and I have to be honest with you and tell you that in the earlier part of my life, I didn't believe it. I just didn't believe that energy work was real. I thought it was kind of airy-fairy, but now at age, I'm not going to tell you, 25 years later, at age 0, I found out that there is something to it. It really works, and that it's something. And I wondered if you could explain a little more thoroughly what the something is, first of all.
Well, I'd like to first kind of respond to what you said about, not thinking that there was something to it or that energy, medicine was something that was, quotes, real. Because when I first became drawn to Reiki, it was because I reached a point in my life where it felt like it didn't have meaning or purpose. And I ended up reading an article that someone had written concerning her experiences taking Reiki. And it was I just felt drawn to that for some reason, and asked for a recommendation for a class because she happened to know all of the people in the area, and ended up signing up for the class and showing up with no idea why I was there, just simply having, kind of with an open mind. And it was during the attunement process that I had this tremendous experience. And the funniest part of it is that I could suddenly feel energy running through my hands, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. It hadn't occurred to me until that moment that it might be. So Reiki is a dialogue, shall we say, between the energy, what we call universal life force energy, or Reiki.
Is that prana or chi?
The chi, as I understand chi anyways, chi is personal. It is the individual. Rather than what is maybe, I don't know if chi is universal, shall we say, like all the energy that is in the universe type of thing, which is how we think of the Reiki energy, or Ilia, or life force energy in Peruvian shamanism. And so there's a dialogue between that energy and the recipient, or the client, human or animal. The practitioner is the conduit, or the straw. The way it was described to me when I was taking my Reiki training, and that I described to my students, is Reiki is like a milkshake. We are the straw, the practitioner, and the client is the one that is consuming the milkshake. And so they're in charge of how fast or how slow, because our bodies have an innate intelligence. And we have these wonderful systems that are designed to self-regulate, but sometimes they get knocked off balance by challenges, physical or emotional, traumas that occur. And so our body knows exactly where to allocate that energy, so it may draw it more quickly, more slowly. We are simply the straw, and the energy flows to where it's needed and helps the systems to rebalance and restore themselves. For example, long time ago, my cat Kia was a kitten, and she experienced, when I found her, she was very little. She was 4 weeks old, and I found her like 3 feet from traffic. And she had a major upper respiratory infection so bad that her nose was encrusted over and she could only breathe through her mouth. And at the time, my vet, was very concerned about that. And she also had a major case of fleas. Like, the vet had never seen any so bad before. It was like her skin was literally crawling. So, being 4 weeks old, the best I could do was to give her a flea bath. I couldn't treat her with flea meds because it was just too early. And that took care of some, but not all. And when she reached old enough to use a product that was supposed to be safe for kittens, I used it on her, and unfortunately, she was sensitive to it. And she stopped eating, she stopped drinking, and she just began sleeping. And it's 9 o'clock at night, and liver damage in cats is very quick and can be is irreversible. And so I was, needless to say, quite concerned. And I thought, well, when in doubt, do Reiki. So I picked her up, and she's only 8 weeks old, and she fit, into the palms of both of my hands. And I started allowing the energy to flow and for her highest healing good. And she goes out like a light. And she's just lying there, and the energy is getting hotter and hotter and hotter. And she's getting hotter and hotter and hotter to the point where the fleas actually came out to the ends of the guard hair. She looked like she was pepper-studded. And I was starting to think of, gosh, is there such a thing as spontaneous combustion? Because she was just really glowing. And so I finally said, okay, I need to, put her down for a couple minutes. And I put her down. She walked over. She sniffed her food. And I thought, okay, we're on to something here. So I picked her back up about 15 minutes later. Another 10 minutes, she goes out like a light. She gets hot, but not quite as hot as the first time. And put her down. Again, she goes over. She has a little bit of water. Okay, good. Give her a half-hour break, another 10 or 15 minutes of Reiki. Again, she goes out like a light, but doesn't get hot this time. And this time when I put her down, she goes over, she eats, she drinks, and she goes off to play. And I thought, wow, bless Reiki. That's amazing. And I thought, what? Why? How did that happen? Well, the idea is that we have these wonderful energy systems that do great things. And one of the largest organs in the body that we forget about it being an organ is our skin. And our skin is designed to help us detoxify, among other things. Reiki helps to accelerate the healing process. And so that's what it did. It accelerated the expulsion of the toxins that were not agreeing. Her body was very clear, it needed to get rid of whatever wasn't agreeing with her. And that's the method it chose to do it. So it was just, and that's why Kia's name is Kia, because she's named after the ki, or the Japanese word for life force energy.
How much of Reiki is doing energy work with the intent to heal directed into the chakras? And explain what the chakras are for people who are not familiar with that word.
There's the chakras in this sense are the Indian, as in India, system of chakras. So there's 7 major chakras going from the root chakra up to the crown chakra. And they're located along the central line of the body. And they correspond to different endocrine systems. So basically the regulators of our body. And what was the first part of the question again?
You're explaining what the chakras are, basically, and how Reiki interfaces with the chakras, or does it?
Mm-hmm, it does. It's when we give a formal session, i.e. where we're going to do something other than spot Reiki. Spot Reiki being like if you bang your elbow and you put your hand there, that's spot Reiki. So in a formal session, we would move from one chakra to the next, being the conduit, offering the Reiki, and the body would draw it in as needed. Some places it's going to be more, some places less.